Well, gang, they are at it again. And at it again, I mean Black Rifle Coffee. Now, guys, I have done some videos on these guys before, and I've shared my personal feelings on them. And I don't think I need to rehash them all, but there's definitely going to be some touching on some of the things that have happened involving them and some of the things that have been exposed. Now, Black Rifle Coffee is a company that is supposed to be pro 2A, very, very much veteran, very, very veteran friendly because most of the guys there are veterans. However, I have been critical of them in the past, and then, of course, we get word of this lawsuit. Now, I want to go ahead and tell you guys right now that this is not news to me, and I'll explain why it is not news to me. Even though I have made a lot of videos, which, by the way, you guys can go to my page and go see, which, by the way, stems all the way back to the whole Kyle Rittenhouse thing. There was one YouTuber, long before any of the ones I'm about to mention, that was reporting on Black Rifle Coffee and even reported on this lawsuit and what is actually in this lawsuit involving Mr. Roper and Mr. Hafer. Now, I'm going to give you guys just some background. I'm going to play you guys a clip. I'm going to expose who that YouTuber was, and I'll even leave a link to his channel because he's done a lot of very good work on this. Kind of take some, let's just say, kind of go back in the past of some of the previous heat that they've got. And, of course, after that clip is over with, I'm going to give you guys my judgment on it, exactly what I think is really and truly going on here. Now, the YouTuber who had been doing content exposing Black Rifle Coffee is a guy by the name of the Preppers Bunkers Outdoors. Very good channel. Very smart guy over there. It's a shame that his channel has not gotten the credit that it needs to get. But he's done a lot of content on them. And he's talked about 9-line apparel. And he's talked about grunt style. I know he's talked about grunt style. And I think I've even had my own issue with Tim Jensen as well. Of course, that was during the whole PACT Act thing. How it was, I think, was hypocritical for him to be calling conservatives a bunch of cowards when the PACT Act bill had a bunch of BS in it that was not related to veterans. Don't worry, that video is also still on my page. It's also still on Short Timer Prepping. But the thing is this right here. Nothing Black Rifle Coffee does nowadays, nothing they get accused of surprises me. It just doesn't, okay? Some of which I believe is actually true. And, of course, we could all go back to the whole Kyle Rittenhouse thing and how it was that they responded by basically saying we do not condone him, even though Kyle, whom, by the way, I made a video on yesterday and released today. Don't worry. I'll try to leave that video in the comment section as well. The fact of the matter is this right here. If you dig deeper in their past, you dig deep and you find out that a lot of their donations went to Democrats, the same people who are going out of their way to restrict our access to the Second Amendment and firearms. It looks a little bit shady. Now, granted, I'm not saying these people don't do good things or anything like that. I mean, I do know that they're a pro-veteran group that helps veterans out. But when you actually look at the politics and you look at who's actually running things there now outside of Evan Hafer, yeah, a guy who's got actual ties to communism, the company seems to be a little bit shady. Now, let me give you guys some background and then we'll get to the clip. Now, guys, the clip that I'm going to be showing you is coming from Lauren Chen. I view Lauren Chen to be extremely credible. I trust her very, very much. This is one of the few YouTube channels out there, other than the aforementioned Preppers Bunkers Outdoors, who I did say that I would leave a link to in the description box. I advise you guys to go check out his content. But I've always trusted Lauren when it comes to this. Lauren has always had her head together, and she's always gotten things, let's just say she's always been pretty good. We'll get to that here in a second. But let's go ahead and run through the timeline really quick. There was the Kyle Rittenhouse thing. Happened back in 2020. They basically denounced him without even really finding out what the hell was going on. There was the whole photo that Kyle had being out on bail that he took with Rick Schroeder, and I don't know who the other individual was, and he was wearing a Black Rifle Coffee t-shirt. They, for the most part, basically said, look, we don't condone him or condone what happened. We don't want to make money off tragedies. We understand that, but the way that it came off. And then, of course, there was a New York Times article, which, by the way, it was Jeremy at the Quartering reported on. Now, going back really quick, it was Heavy Duty Country who first brought this issue up, and there was another YouTuber by the name of Ex-Military Criminal who actually reviewed the receipts. I remember that video. This was long before I even got to the YouTube game. It was right around the time that I was actually getting here. I missed the story, is what happened. It wasn't until Jeremy at the Quartering spoke about it in his video about the New York Times article. I did a lot of my videos based upon that New York Times article, and I kind of came away saying, okay, maybe these people were actually swamped. Maybe these people were actually working against us. But the allegations that are coming out now involve a guy by the name of Roper. Now, I'm going to roll this for you guys really quick, and I'm going to come back and comment on the other side and tell you what I think is believable, what's not believable, and render my final judgment.
I speak for all of us when I say What now? The suit goes on to say that several days later, Mr. Roper and Mr. Hafer were working alone in a conference room when Mr. Hafer turned to Mr. Roper and said, "Why don't we close that door and butt F the shiz out of each other?" Mr. Roper rejected the sexual proposition and the meeting continued in awkward tension. After Mr. Roper had rejected Mr. Hafer's advances and failed to comment upon Mr. Hafer's new body, Mr. Hafer became openly hostile to Mr. Roper. It also alleges that by approximately early September 2016, Mr. Hafer started calling Mr. Roper Mountain Jew as a derogatory term because he was one of the few Latter-day Saints in the office. Mr. Hafer started being very mean and hateful toward Mr. Roper in front of other employees. So we actually have more to get through, believe it or not. The allegations don't end here, but I just want to say that I do find this whole Mountain Jew accusation especially strange. Actually, not especially strange considering the other allegations, but what I mean to say is that I'm pretty sure that Evan Hafer himself is Jewish. Just some information I wanted to give you all in case you weren't aware, because I think it is important context in light of someone accusing Mr. Hafer of calling them a Mountain Jew. Like, if Hafer is actually Jewish, and I'm pretty sure that he is, then him calling someone else a Mountain Jew, it's either very unlikely or perhaps even a term of endearment. I don't know. We continue. Apparently, while employed at BRCC, Roper and a group of other people went to a strip club. Always just a great work activity to go to. And it's written that, according to Roper, while at the strip club, Mr. Bollinger was not satisfied with Mr. Roper simply being in the club, but insisted on paying for him to have a private dance. Mr. Roper was humiliated and embarrassed, but did not want to be started working at BRCC. On July 30th, Mr. Hafer and Mr. Roper competed in a handgun shooting match at Wasatch Wing and Clay Range. Mr. Roper had taken first place in the competition. Mr. Hafer was very angry that Mr. Roper had beaten him. Mr. Hafer expressed his anger to Mr. Roper, and this was when Mr. Hafer began to treat Mr. Roper in an extremely hostile and domineering manner. Mr. Hafer felt like his reputation as an excellent shooter among the military special forces community was threatened by Mr. Roper when other military competitors heard the results. Early in August 2016, Mr. Roper was forced to strip down to his underwear and participate in a marketing video where his image was digitally altered to look like he was naked. Mr. Roper was not given any opportunity to refuse to participate in this video, and he felt like had he refused to participate, that he would have lost his job. It's also written that in the video, he is asked to pretend to do sit-ups in a room with various other men who are allegedly having a hot dog party. The video was meant to poke fun at homosexuals, and Mr. Roper participated in the video against his will and as a condition of his employment. This video has been seen by thousands of persons on the internet, much to Mr. Roper's embarrassment and humiliation. It's also written that on or about August 15th, 2016, Evan Hafer called Mr. Roper into his office. In front of Mr. Roper and several other people in his office, Mr. Hafer stripped down all his clothes and stood in front of Mr. Roper completely naked. Mr. Hafer acted as if he expected some sort of response out of Mr. Roper. Instead, Mr. Roper averted his eyes and tried to turn the conversation back to work. I think I speak for all of us when I say, what now? The suit goes on to say that several days later, Mr. Roper and Mr. Hafer were working alone in a conference room when Mr. Hafer turned to Mr. Roper and said, "Why don't we close that door and butt F the shiz out of each other?" Mr. Roper rejected the sexual proposition and the meeting continued.
First and foremost, I do kind of agree with Lauren when she said that she found the whole Mountain Jew thing to be a little bit hard, because I think Hafer himself is also Jewish. So I kind of find that like maybe what that is maybe that's just some playful ribbing. This Roper thing, by the way, I found out about it, like I said, about a year ago. I mean, the lawsuit itself seems like there's a lot in there that might be a little bit unbelievable. But then again, though, knowing what we know about BRCC, it wouldn't surprise me. Evan getting upset about losing a shooting competition. Maybe he might have been a little bit more pissed off at himself for losing to a guy who may not be as well trained. The whole offer for butt sex, showing up to meetings butt-ass naked. For all we know, there could be bets going on there. Like, I'm not defending this company. I'm not. As you guys know, if you've been subscribed to me from the start, you know that I've actually been much more critical of these people than pro these people. And, of course, I've gotten attacked being a veteran myself for going after these people. But the fact of the matter is this right here. Don't nothing that Black Rifle Coffee nowadays do surprises me. It just doesn't. Now, you probably would think, okay, well, maybe it's just another salacious lawsuit. However, the thing you have to understand is that even though these lawsuits may allege some very, very wild things, and by the way, that's not everything that's in this court document. Don't worry, I'll leave the court document. I'll leave the article from Ammo Land, which was an older article, and I'll also leave the video from Chin. I'll also leave the video from her. I'll be leaving that video in the description box as well. So, no, I'm not surprised not one bit about anything that's going on here. I just don't. I mean, this company right here has been seedy for a while, and I think people are just now starting to realize it. But that one person who may be, and I'm not saying this to attack or anything, because I do watch his content from time to time. The one person who I think is really hurting right now is probably HTC. You see, when Heavy Duty Country originally exposed these people for their Democrat Party donations or swamp donations, and of course we heard Evan Hafer's whole excuse about, well, I lost a bet, and oh, I gave Tulsi money because she was anti-Hillary Clinton. That does not mean that they're not still more the establishment swamp type. You see, you were donating money to people who wanted to restrict my right to own a firearm. Okay? These same people, by the way, they have listed us as domestic terrorists. So in a lot of ways, some people feel that the BRCC company may have been a little bit, treasonous or traitorous to their fellow vets. You see, they brand themselves as a very much a pro-buddy vet type organization. Some people have called them degenerate. Some people have said that they are promoting the degeneracy. I didn't have an issue with them until they did that whole woke photo shoot or commercial, wherever the hell it was, when they were all wearing dresses and stuff. Don't even get me started on that crap there. But definitely there are some things that, quite frankly, are questionable, especially now seeing who runs the operations over there at BRCC is an actual literal communist with ties all the way to Venezuela. Fact of the matter is that nothing that BRCC does at this moment in time surprises me. And you guys were forewarned. Now, I know that I talked about HTCC for a second here, and I don't mean to talk bad about him. I'm not talking bad about him at all. I just simply saying that he was stopped from probably exposing a lot more. Apparently, they called him up, and he had to do an apology video, and there's probably a good reason for that. They were probably threatening his channel at the time, or maybe they were. I can only speculate. Okay, so YouTube, don't knock the channel. Okay, I can only speculate that. When Jeremy at the Quartering, when he did what he did, he came out recently, by the way, saying that they were actually very, very nice and very cordial to him. So that may have actually quenched out my original speculation. But the fact of the matter is, if you actually look into this company's past, if you actually look at the previous behaviors, and you look at the little things that are a little bit off, it definitely begs the question. It makes you wonder if these people really and truly are actually on our side, if they really and truly are as pro-America as they say they are. I mean, they've already proven with their donations that they're not as pro-2A. And I understand that they have people at the company that work there that are not of the same political affiliation that I may be. But still at the same time, though, man, donating money to these Democrat politicians who want to restrict our access to firearms, not coming out in defense of Kyle Rittenhouse, which, by the way, at first I kind of sort of understood. But looking back on it with everything that happened, the mere fact that the Second Amendment itself was basically being put on trial, please forgive us if we feel like you guys aren't a little bit shady. So please forgive us once again if we're not exactly, even though some of the stuff seems a little bit salacious, please forgive us if we don't entirely believe your side of the story there, Evan. Guys, with that there being said, this video right here will be released tomorrow afternoon to go along with the video that I did earlier on Deion Sanders and the woke mob, or the race scripting mob coming after him. And I'll also be having a separate video out on short time of prepping. Don't worry, I'll leave links to each video. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Make sure you guys subscribe. Share the video down in the comment section. The video that, by the way, as you guys just saw earlier, the clipping, the actual explanation of the lawsuit, that video will be in the description box of the comment section. And I'll be leaving a link to Jake's channel, The Preppers Bunkers Outdoors, also in the description box as well. Once again, like button, subscribe, share the video, hit the notifications bell, and I will see you guys later.